Oh hey, glad you can make it. Let's celebrate. To the completion of Kingdom Hearts 3. Well, the review anyway. Who knows how much they'll add on. But we finally got the game, and I finally finished the review. So, cheers! Cool. Alright, I'm gonna try to sound more like a person, and less like a character. I still wrote a script though. So where am I anyway? Oh hey, it's been a while. Unless you watched my last video. Oh hey, it's been a while. Unless you watched my last video, then it's only been a few weeks. But I feel like it's been forever since I've been involved in this whole YouTube thing. You know, aside from watching it. But since I finally finished that Kingdom Hearts video, I figured I'd dwell on it a little bit longer. You know, instead of actually moving on with my life. Just to be clear, this video isn't about Kingdom Hearts 3 itself. If you want to watch that video, click down below, or on the annotation, if those still work. I think it's a card now? Say hi everybody back home. But this video is about the video that's about Kingdom Hearts 3. And you may ask, why does that need to be a thing? Well, it doesn't. But then again, does anything really need to exist? Let's not get into that today. But I'm just happy Kingdom Hearts 3 does exist. So naturally I made a video about it. I mean, what else would I do with all my time? And let me tell you, this took a lot of time. Much more than I ever anticipated. Look, with any digital media, they'll put more time into the making of the product than the duration of said product lasts for. A 4-minute song, an hour-long movie, a manipulated image that you stare at for 3 seconds, hours of work put into each of these to varying degrees. Anyway, I don't know why I wrote anyway, but I'm sure you know that, whether you're an editor or engineer, or none of those at all. So of course I knew this would take time, just like any of my other projects, especially the ones that never made it to this channel. So excuse me for saying this, but damn! This project turned out being so much bigger than I ever planned it to be. In fact, I didn't even plan on making a review at all. It just sort of happened. It gradually became what you see in the final video. And I gotta say, I'm proud of this one. I mean, it's not perfect by any means, but I like how it turned out, and I got my point across. You're just gonna knock the script off, huh? Crazy cat. But I learned a lot along the way. All aspects from I learned a lot along the way. All aspects of this video. From writing, to camera work, to audio, to performing, editing, touch-up, project organization, and just trying new ideas. I picked up some experience points along the way in each of these. Even if it doesn't show in the video, I still picked up on these, and it'll be something I'll pay more attention to in the future videos, so I'm happy about that. The best way to get better is to just go and do it. So I did. That's right, Theo. The best way to get better is just go and do it. So I did. And I'm not done there. So there's my cheesy inspirational message or whatever. Really, I just wanted to follow up on that video. I mean, I've been away for 7 months. Well, actually, no. I haven't been away, because I've been working on this project. It's not like I quit YouTube and forgot about it, then out of the blue remembered and decided to come back to it. It's not like I even started at all. It's been a busy life this past year, and to prove it, I decided to make a timeline. Not that I've got anything to prove to you, but I just want to give my explanation so I can put that final nail in the coffin, so I can move on to my next projects. So here we go. It's going to be like a calendar from January 2019 to January 2020.
January 2019. Pre-release excitement.
Hey Bobby, how's it going?
Oh, you know, Kingdom Hearts 3 comes out in 13 days.
No, I mean, how's it going in your life?
My what? Oh yes, we all have been waiting, anticipating the release of KH3. It's been 14 years since KH2. We're more than ready to get our hands on this dang game. So my January was spent brushing up on lore, rewatching theory videos on YouTube, and calculating the countdown to Kingdom Hearts 3's release down to the minute. And then here it is, January 28, 2019. I remember that day. This is stupid. This does not work. I just need a teleprompter. I remember that day. I was supposed to be off work at my non-specified Italian restaurant job, but then one of the cooks injured herself or something, so I was called in. Begrudgingly, I agreed. But before I was supposed to start, I was called off. I was called off because the restaurant was closing due to a water main break. Yay. But then they pulled a psych and opened anyway, so I was called back in. Really? But why does this matter? On the day before release? A little thing we like to call
Midnight release. These were so cool as a kid. When you're too excited to buy that game to get it in the morning, so you get it at night instead. I remember going to the release of Smash Brothers and
I think that's it. Look, most of my favorite games never really got that type of recognition, but I like the idea of it, so I was pumped for Kingdom Hearts 3's midnight release. Except there's only one problem. Midnight release was at 9 p.m. Now, it's not really a problem. You get the game early, the employees get to go home earlier than they otherwise would have, but it kind of doesn't make sense. See, midnight does because it's technically the next day, despite darkness lingering around for the next 6 hours. Whatever. Bottom line is I got to buy my game at 9 p.m. I still had to close down the restaurant at 10, so I stepped out for a smoke break. Luckily the restaurant was next to the mall, and the mall had a GameStop. I mean, GameStop isn't exactly my first choice for buying games, but it was there, and guaranteed. And I played that game probably till the sun came up.
February 2019. Not much to say here. I continued playing KH3. Didn't beat it in February. I took an unplanned break from it partway through the month. No specific reason, just busy from work.
I think I was also playing Harvest Moon, Tale of Two Towns alongside KH3. I even wrote a review for it. I might produce it one day, but I'd have to get back into it to speak genuinely about it. and that's a game that's a bit daunting to get into, for reasons that you may or may not see if that video comes out. Anyway, February was uneventful.
March 2019. March is where it all began. I picked up KH3 again after not playing it for a week or two, and I think I was in the Caribbean or San Francisco. But what I do remember is it was right before the bridge. You know, right before you save Aqua, and that part really set me off. It's mostly explained in my KH3 review, but basically I was disappointed in how rushed it all was. We saw Darkwa in the Frozen trailer, and oh my, I was hyped. But then it's just one battle, then move on. Ven was rushed too.
So the gears were turning in my head, and then Cloudland happened, and I was disgusted. So for a few days, my head was ranting with thoughts of they should have done this, or why'd they do that, or just overall, why?
So naturally I took pen to paper. It's my go-to when something's heavy on my mind. No matter the content or intention on where those thoughts are going, just write.
I mean, there's more significance to it than that, but that's not what this video is about.
Anyway, I just wrote down my thoughts as if to vent on stationery, and it was never meant to be a review, but then that creative devil in me snatched it up and said,
Hey, why not make that a video?
So I did. Basically I wrote most of the review from memory. That's why there's a couple of mistakes that were addressed in post. And that's also why the world order...
The world border!
Sorry, the order of worlds was a bit off. I simply remembered Twilight Town being after the toy box, and etc. But the ending parts were all written alongside the game as I went on to complete it.
April 2019. So the bulk of the review was written between March and April. I'd write when I was in the right mindset, but to be honest, that wasn't many days around this time. Work was stressful. Life was stressful. The metaphorical
Got this!
was always about, so I didn't spend a lot of time on it. The interludes are dated March 10th. I wrote a total of 10 of these little segments. Only 4 made it into the video, which is fine. I liked the idea of them, but they didn't turn out how I wanted. Many reasons for that. I don't own an Organization 13 coat, so I improvised one. This is a test video I did when I picked out the coat, and added the hood and chain. My keys are still attached, because at the time, that chain was still attached to my wallet, and I like to keep those together. This video was the 27th of April. I had vague locations in mind, and did some scouting. This is for the opening interlude. I like the stump at this local Cleveland beach. This was the 9th of April, and I had something like this in mind.
See, all 10 of those interludes were written with a different character in mind. This one specifically was towards Aqua. If I ever release all 10 of them, maybe you can guess which ones are directed at who.
Anyway, although the interludes were one of the first things written, they were the last to be made. I dreaded doing these. Going out in public, wearing a black hood, talking to a camera while waving my arms around, by myself, setting up scene on a tripod. And I didn't have a clear vision. I couldn't even memorize my lines until like 20 minutes in. The idea was, I'm speaking to someone off screen, but I couldn't set it up just right. I was no longer excited about doing it, and I figured I'll just fix it sometime later. So that's why it's so bodged. But I do really like the writing though, and some of the B-roll. But yeah, 4 of them for my KH3 video was plenty. Anyway, I'm getting ahead of myself. They were written in March, edited in January 2020, but we're still in April 2019. So that car footage, seen in the Toy Box review, was from the 28th of March. And this page 0 was written on the 27th of March. See, I already wrote a page 1, and had to write an intro to come before it, so page 0, and following that, a page 0.2, naturally, to keep things in order.
my writing is all over the place. Just like right now. I moved on to April, but I'm still talking about March. So let's move on to May.
May 2019. May 1st, I started my new job. Yeah, I came to loathe unspecified Italian restaurant throughout March and April, so I arranged a new job, one closer to Cleveland that promised many busy hours. So I was all on board. So from that point on, well, to an extent, I was working 55 plus hours a week, even up to 70 some weeks. Nothing I haven't done before, but that's a lot of time. So in your free time, you don't really strive to do anything productive. So that was my focus for May. Probably worked on the script more. I didn't do much for the KH3 review, but it never left my mind. I remember planning days to go shoot the interludes, but ultimately not doing that. Though I'm pretty sure this footage is from May. Though my camera sometimes has issues with metadata, and just writes the day the file was moved, and not when it was created.
Oh yeah, I was working on other videos at the time. Hoot was a test for if I wanted to use the green screen for the interludes, and the other two, they were just for fun.
June 2019. More work, but I filmed my first 2-camera shot. As you can see, the framing's different. Only one of these shots made it into the video, and that's just because I couldn't find me saying it in the second filming.
We had to wait 4 days.
Anyway, these were mostly a test. I wasn't crazy about the more close-up frame. Not that the final video had amazing framing, but I think it just kind of fell under the category of good enough. These were shot on June 11th, and originally, I planned to speak the whole thing in front of the camera, and just overlay gameplay where necessary.
Until I realized just how freaking long the script was, coupled with the fact that I'm just so bad at remembering lines, I realized I had to plan it out better. And that's where these come in. The pink one's gone missing, so Prismacolor PC 1030 will have to do.
Okay, so I knew I couldn't do it all in front of the camera, and I kind of like the idea of a warmer, softer voice on the off-screen gameplay sections. So I read through the script a bunch more times, deciding which lines would be for the camera and which would be for the old condenser microphone. Blue is to the camera, green is KH3 footage, pink is me with the old CRT, orange is gameplay that is not KH3, and yellow is anything else. It took me weeks to get through it color coding, and I had to be in the right mindset to even pick up the script, because I had to make sure I was always on the same page.
See what I did there? Same page? I remember my sister Ray giving me a hard time, because I was going through the whole script the one time I was over.
By the way, I wrote the playable characters and Final Fantasy sections on the 25th of June. I already had outlines of what I wanted to say, but pieced it all together in the most coherent way I could on that day. Same thing for the endings and questions in July.
Yeah, very spaced out, I know. But hey, I was busy. Not much else for June or even
July 2019. At one point in the summer, I found this. I was at the mall, and there was like a metalwork shop there. And lo and behold, I saw a keyblade. I think it was the Oblivion that was on display, but once I went inside, I saw the good old classic Kingdom Key. So I asked the man the price.
$110. I wanted it, but I passed on that deal.
So later, when I went home, I looked online. The exact same Keyblade, $30. So I bought it immediately, and I'm glad I did. It was a nice touch for the video, and besides that,
I got my very own Keyblade. I've wanted one of these since I was a boy. And yeah, it's flat. You could call it a Lego, but it's my Lego. I absolutely had to switch out that chain though. The one it came with was way long and way thin. Look, I can even switch out the keychain. Theoretically, I could put a different keychain on and it will turn into something completely different, right?
Also, sometime that summer, I realized I needed gameplay footage. My original plan was to just use someone else's, with permission of course, but the anxiety of asking around, on top of not being in control of how it was played, just didn't sit well with me. Luckily, Bob from Wolf Den uploaded a video at the perfect time, answering all the questions I didn't know I had.
So thanks, Wolf. Cheers.
I got the Elgato, and this thing's a beauty. I always liked the idea of capturing game footage, but never really had that drive to until I wrote the KH3 review. August 2019.
At this point, I was really kicking myself to get something done. Still working insane hours, but Buttercup Reese's Puffs, you gotta get it done.
So with the script written, revised, and highlighted, it was time to really get to work. I did all the voiceover in a matter of a few days, then went right into refilming the 2 camera shots. A lot of talking. Then loaded all that onto my PC.
All that's out of the way. Good thing too, since I had a deadline. Here's the plot twist. At the end of August, I was done at that job, because I was going to school.
September 2019. Yeah, going back to school, but for sound design, something that was barely touched on in my original digital media degree. So it's something I wanted to do for a while, but the only catch was, it was south of Columbus, so I had to move, but it's only 7 weeks, so I still paid rent up in Cleveland, but lived in southern Ohio, a 3-hour drive away. I took my computer with me, expecting time to work on my project. Oh, how wrong was I?
I was wrong, in a good way. See, I pictured it being like my first round of college, where I'm there to learn, and I do that, but I'm only halfway interested, and it seems like none of the people there are really looking for friends.
Yeah, I went to a pretty boring little trade school. I respect the people there, but it wasn't exactly fun. Well, this school was exciting, and it was easy to get invested in the craft. And the best part, I actually made friends there. Like, not people you say what's up to, then go separate ways.
I've got too many of them. I really didn't expect to keep any friends from there. I felt like Roxas waking up in Twilight Town. Excuse the cheesiness, but this is centered around Kingdom Hearts, remember?
So yeah, that's all to say, I really didn't have much time between September and October to work on my KH3 review. I imported all my footage, arranged all my footage, and cut it down to about 6 hours. October 2019.
I returned home a little past halfway through October, and I had one thing on my mind. I've got to get this project done. It's been in the works for way too long. It's time to get cracking.
Literally. I filmed the segment on the 30th of October. It wasn't in the script at all, more like a last-minute addition. Originally, I only had Chef Bobby saying,
"Count me in!"
and the review would move on from there. But I'm glad I got the idea to challenge Remy in a cook-off. It ended up being probably my favorite part of the video. Besides that, most of October was spent editing. And not the fun editing either, just trimming clips, cutting silence, choosing best takes, and getting the flow just right between them. Yawn. November 2019. It just so happened to be November 1st when I started gathering gameplay footage. I had none up to this point, only test footage, so I had a choice to make: record theater mode for cutscenes, and just walking combat footage for everything else, or replay the whole game. Well, happily I replayed the game. Besides giving a refresher, and ensuring I can't miss or overlook anything, it gave me a better understanding and outlook on this game. So I started on beginner, just so I could breeze through, and recorded every step of the way.
Man, that's a lot of gigabytes. So that's basically November. Get gameplay footage, edit it. Get gameplay footage, edit it.
It's funny, that PS on the fish video, I already sensed it at the time, but still, I had no idea how true that statement would become. That was from the perspective of procrastination, and now it's just a slow progress.
Sure, it's a slow progress, but it's still progress. And with the work that I put in so far, I estimated I'd have this done in
December 2019. With KH3 recorded, it's time to get all the other footage. Every single Kingdom Hearts game, and other games too. I bought a PS3 back in July probably, and never owned one. I mean, my brother did growing up, so I just used that. And then the PS4 came out, so why play a PS3? Besides, my old roommate had one, so that's where I played Yakuza 3, but I never had one of my own.
So I got one. Didn't do much with it until December, but the main drive behind getting one was definitely for 1.5 and 2.5 remix footage. See, I have 1.5, 2.5 remix on PS4, or my buddy has it, and I just haven't gotten it back to him yet. Shout out Brian.
But all of my saves are on PS3, from back in 2013 and 2014 when 1.5 and 2.5 first came out on PS3. So I had to get those from my brother's PS3. Cool, copied to a drive. Now let's turn on the PS3. Huh, not showing up. Why's that? Turns out, you can't record PS3 footage. Not straight up anyway. I never knew this. See, KH3 is my first time recording gameplay. Before, I would just play the games and call it a day. So I had no idea about this whole HDCP thing. Especially since on PS4, all I had to do is uncheck a box and it worked. So I had to find a workaround because I didn't have time to replay each of the old Kingdom Hearts games on PS4.
So I bought a splitter. It didn't work. So I bought another. I had to wait for it though. UK shipping.
It took like 3.5 weeks to ship. So in the meantime, I got 0.2 in back cover, the intros to KH1, KH2, and Birth by Sleep, got 358 encoded 1.5, 2.5 scenes, emulated 358, coded, and Chain of Memories on my GPD Win, played the intros of Unchained Key on this thing, and remembered that I never bothered to play Dream Drop Distance on the PS4 because I already beat it on 3DS, and let's be honest, it doesn't really need a second playthrough. I mean, it's not a bad time, but it is Dream Drop Distance.
So I played through that game, all except for the secret movie, because, again, I used beginner mode for the sake of footage, and I really couldn't be bothered to obtain all the trophies the second time.
So thankfully I could use KHVids.net for that. Oh, and I remember Kairi summoning a Keyblade, much like Lee did, but I guess that's just another case of misremembering. So to say the least, I was pretty disappointed to only see the camera pan up and that's it. So my splitter arrived, and thank the good lord it worked. So then I could access all my KH1, 2, Birth by Sleep, and Chain of Memories saves, theater mode, and post-game content, right?
Nope. Another PS3 issue. First one was that I didn't own one, so I bought one. Second issue, the HDCP, so I bypassed it, but now I've got a third issue. PS3 doesn't like when you use saves from another system. I'm not using these to cheat, they genuinely are my save files, just from my brother's PS3.
Well, lucky some clever people out there found a solution. They coded a solution. Brute force save data saved my hide on this project. So thanks a lot for that.
Now all that's left for December is to deal with the stress of Christmas.
I hate gift shopping.
By the way, I couldn't showcase my Birth by Sleep case in the review, because I didn't own it at the time. But while doing some Christmas shopping in December, I found this in the game store. Dope. And it's got a manual too. Now, all that I'm missing is Chain of Memories on the GBA and 358 encoded on the DS. I swear, anytime I see these for sale, they don't have a case.
January 2020. I didn't make my original planned date for December, and with news of a new DLC, I wanted to have my project done before then, so I've got till the 22nd. Dang, nearly a year's passed since KH3, and it's really setting in just how late I am, but it's almost done. I just gotta edit the interludes, polish some clips, and do the export. Well, and fill in all the gaps that I didn't know what footage to use. The whole month felt like so close, yet so far. Did all my color corrections too. It really added new life to the 2 camera shots. Oh, and music bedding, some more sound effects, and credits. But after that's all done, I release it.
On the 23rd, 1 day past deadline. Yes, Remind's release date. That video was supposed to be out before Remind, and consequently this one too, or at least be done written by then, but things don't always go as planned. Anyway, I got Remind at midnight on the 22nd, and to be honest, I already wrote the full review. So it says here, today is the 29th of January 2020. It's the day I wrote this. Today is February 8th. So I'm right on track. But I'm not going to mention that to keep in line with the timeline. So the KH3 review takes place between March and April 2019. So I guess this video takes place January 2020? When else?
February 2020.
So now it's February, or later if you're watching anytime after. Or if I didn't manage to finish this one on time either. What a ride. KH3 and the making of it. My 2019 really was spent with this project looming over me the whole time. Heck, at first, I wasn't even sure KH3 would have too much of an impact on my life. I mean, compared to how KH1 and KH2, even 358 were monumental to me. I just didn't see that happening with KH3. But it did. Just in a different, probably unhealthy way. Regardless, I've had fun. Thanks for sticking around. And may your heart? Nah, hold up. I did that one already. Cheers. I should do it. I'm gonna mark that under good enough. They call me Godzilla, the B-roll thriller. Keep on watching out for me.